Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody, for the week of August 31st. I'm Ryan Miller, and I just barely got Matt to divulge his entire strategy for the show today.
Strategery.
It being TV Volleyball, which is the book club for movies. Normally we watch a movie every week and we talk about it, and we invite you to do the same at podcast@bookclubformovies.com or Facebook and Twitter on the internets.
Are you sure about that?
I have no idea.
Oh, I was just checking.
This is the part where it's just like second nature. I don't think about what I'm saying. So if you're going to stop me at the end and be like, do you know what you just said? The answer is no.
Oh,
did I screw something up?
No, I was just making sure that you said we could be found on the internet. I just wanted to make sure that was true.
He's playing mind games this early, and he's already got me off my game, everybody. For TV Volleyball.
Yeah,
what's up? I said.
Maybe you should eat more carrots, nerd. Get your brain meat up.
Call back to minutes before the show when I said I'm eating carrots for lunch. We're going to take some time out from the busy movies. This time of the year is the busiest, especially with all the staying at home going on. And we're going to talk about TV.
Yep.
I don't keep track of these until after the fact, and I have to name the episode. I'm going to say 7.
Oh, you know
TVVB 7?
I think you're right, actually. I was just looking at I wanted to see if you put anything in the description for the last one, and you did. Not a useful description, but...
Wait, like so you wanted to check if we had already talked about a show?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I do that also. Not that I'm going to bring back any greatest hits here. Not many of them. Okay, again, you're so good. You're getting me to talk about my strategy without even trying.
Strategery.
Everybody, because it's a volleyball.
Volleyball.
And at the end of a volleyball, there's a winner. We're going to see how that shakes out this time around. There's no actual rules, except for maybe this one. Sometimes I make us start in a certain way, and I don't tell Matt about it. But
this is a rule that I've never heard before either, so I love it.
Well, this week I know for a fact that we have a show we want to talk about. And if this were a movie show, I feel like this would be the first thing we talked about. Also, since we both have it, I mean, it's no surprise at this point. It's going to be a love fest.
Yeah, it should be the last thing we talk about.
Oh, you want to save Stargirl until last?
I do want to save Stargirl till last.
Okay, all right.
I do. Because it's the one that I think we're going to have the most to say about. The rest of them, like... I have a lot of thoughts that I probably will not get out, and it'll be jumbled as all hell, and I'll be banking on you, Mr. I took notes for every episode, which will help me greatly.
Well, for Stargirl, not for the rest of these. So I don't know what I would defer to you then to begin.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I can begin. You want me to start?
All right. Yeah, what you got?
All right, I'll set you up. I don't remember if I told you that we finished it or if we were getting there, because I feel like season
Killing
3
Eve.
was wrapped.
All right.
Yes. Wrapped it up. Finished the last epi
of season 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been out for a while. I think it actually, like, I swear the last episode came out like the day we did the last TV Volleyball.
Okay. All right.
Like the night before, and we didn't get a chance to watch it.
Wherein I probably also asked my famous question.
Is the show over yet?
Yeah. Is that the last of it? Or
don't know.
No. Okay. All right.
Not a clue.
I'm just always curious.
It doesn't.
I feel like you can tell a lot about a show if it's over.
That it ended, that nobody wanted to do it anymore, that it had run its course.
No, not even just that, but like if you're like, no, it's season 7 and we're still going, I'm like, okay.
That its point, the zeitgeist is now the wiping portion of the toilet paper. No. So first of all, I think you should watch this show.
I have it queued up.
Yeah,
I haven't started.
I think you're really gonna like it. The third season definitely ups and downs more so than the other two. But it's still a really solid watch. The final episode, we'll see how it wraps up. It's a solid wrap up, but it's not the end of the show. It's definitely not the end of the show.
Cliffhanger for season 3. It sounds like
it's not even a cliffhanger. It's straight up not a cliffhanger at all. It's like if
does Stallone walk out onto the set and
you guys doing? Yo, what's up, Killing Eve? Yo, I'm Philadelphia now. We're in where are we at? We're in like Malaysia or something.
To somebody somewhere, this entire podcast or any that we do probably just sounds like 2 Stallone impressions for an hour. Like simultaneously too.
It's pretty good.
Cliffhanger.
We get high. Yeah, it's my favorite part is when the dude backs up and he goes, striker lines up for a penalty kick, and then he goes to penalty kick and he does not succeed and goes sailing off the edge.
Oh, spoiler!
Spoiler!
Let's save that for the cliffhanger show.
We should do a cliffhanger show.
Is there a show in cliffhanger?
There's a show in Cliffhangers wherein we only talk about things that ended on a cliffhanger and whether it was good or bad.
True. We've done weirder.
That's actually not a bad one. I like that idea because there are cliffhangers where you're like, that was a good one, and then you're like, then there's also, hey, we did The Walking Dead. Well, that was dumb, you idiots. I will never agree with it. I'll just never agree with it.
It sounds like the one for Killing Eve.
Not a cliffhanger.
Is just fine.
It's just
also not a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's totally if for whatever reason they just are done with the show. They can be done with the show. It's an end.
Oh, okay.
But my understanding is that there's like one more book that they're kind of like adapting. Like this is all book related, so they're adapting stuff, and I think there's one more to finish out. And the intention is for one more season at least. So, we'll see.
Hearing you talk about it, it sounds like season 3 wasn't the strongest. Is it like spinning its wheels? Do you get the feeling like
no?
Oh, okay.
You know, they're just it's. You're now used to certain aspects of the characters, so some of the things that they do are not necessarily either a shock, or when they do something that's slightly out of character, like that maybe, and it doesn't quite pay off, you go, oh, well, it's not bad. Like it's a totally, again, the show's top form, and those and really Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer are like the whole reason to watch the show. Those two together are just nuts. So
are they approaching it's fun to watch them do anything status at this point?
Easily.
Basically
I could easily watch those two like with these characters and the way that they kind of have to play off each other. I mean, especially Jodie Comer, like her Villanelle is she's, I just want to see her like that character. I can see there's a lot that woman can do, I think, in the future.
A spin-off character. She could do her own show.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wild guess. Yeah, I feel like season 3s can be make or break because the first is that one that I feel like it comes from the pitch. Like it's something that somebody has thought long and hard about. Maybe it's their baby. They've had it for who knows how long.
Right. There's some love there, you know, like real love that like, I want to get this out there.
Right. Second season's kind of that sophomore slump, maybe in TV form. You know, they have to come up with something new if they haven't already. Which nowadays it's all thrown into whack because, and I've got a show that this will fit with. A lot of the times with especially short seasons, you're basically just seeing 2 seasons or 1 season as season 1 and season 2. You know, it's kind of Anyway, so for third seasons, I feel like it's make or break. Like either you get back into the groove, either you've really figured it out at this point, or you've found a hook that completely fits, or you're kind of done. You know, and I don't know, that could be completely false. But for me, watching TV shows, I feel like that's what happens more often than not. Not that they fail, but that, man, if they don't get it now,
they're done for you.
Maybe. Yeah. So, all right. But you're not done with Killing Eve, so we're good.
No, man. When season 4 rolls around, dude, we're there. Like love the show. So totally worth it. Definitely think you'll dig the program.
Okay. That might have been the most cryptic show we've done yet. I guess we have talked about the actual premise beforehand, but I don't think we've talked about at all what the show is so far.
Yeah,
beyond
because
you liking it. So.
And I really don't want to because it's one of those. Like,
okay.
Because it truly did. It was one of those things that came out of nowhere for me, and Beth knew about it, and she watched, and it was one of those like every time she turned it on, I was just like super sucked into every moment of it. Like I just couldn't look away, and then I finally was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and watch it. It's like and each season's only 8 episodes, so you're not like they're an hour each, so you're not.
I do love that also.
It's nice and contained.
So basically, watch the stupid thing for next TVVB or I automatically lose, I think is what I'm hearing, because
you make up the rules, and that's a rule you just made up. Boom.
But I make them up as we go, so there it is.
So who knows what happens later?
So who knows?
Yeah, this is like Calvin Ball.
I don't even know what that is, and I agree.
How do you? Oh my gosh, Calvin and Hobbes.
No, I'm yes.
You know, he used to play Calvin Ball that had no rules.
No.
And he would wear the mask, and they. All right, you gotta.
You're right. I feel extra bad now.
You definitely. You're gonna need to go to your corner. All right.
The mind game is strong with you this time around.
The Bali is Vold to you.
Okay, so Stargirl. Just kidding.
Only thing I watched over and over.
One of the greatest hits I will bring back. That was Killing Eve's the greatest hit. We'll say we talked about it before. I finished up Star Trek Discovery season 2.
Okay, cool.
And I don't think you've seen any Discovery at this point.
That's the newest, right?
With correct.
Sasha from The Walking Dead.
Sacha Baron Cohen, yes, correct.
Sasha Baron Cohen from The Walking Dead.
Now I kind of just want that.
I just want to see him playing Rick and Shane and the governor. I want him. Just him at this. That's all.
Yes, and she can carry a show. She carries this one. I think it's still just. I don't know if I'm going to add anything to the discussion other than I think I have it. I think I have it sussed out now, because before I'm watching this and I'm like, I like Star Trek. I like this show. I don't dislike it, but I think I said that it has the dishonor maybe of being my least favorite Star Trek,
Sure.
And that's including movies and TV and stuff like that. Doesn't mean it's bad, because I'm, into a lot of Star Trek, but
great work, Voyager. Way to surpass. I don't know anything.
See, I get the Voyager criticisms, obviously.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, well.
It's the ones that I know of that have like serious criticism that I can remember are Voyager and Deep Space Nine.
Sure.
People seem
to boldly go and then just sit there. Yeah, Deep Space Nine.
People seem to really either love that or dislike it. And I read somewhere that there's a fan theory to Deep Space Nine, I think. Maybe that
it's good.
That is Deep Space Nine the one with Cole Meany is in that one as well, where he's like a major
I believe so. Yeah,
it.
they took, because it was a splinter from Next Generation that ran concurrently. Yeah, because Next Generation was killing it. Like everybody was watching that, so they did a spin-off, Splinter or whatever.
So
and yeah, Worf, Cole Meany.
Okay, so I read this really funny and it's funny to me now because I've started to I'm not going to talk about Next Generation because I have nothing of interest to say about it.
Yeah,
but in relation to this, because I've been watching that and I'm familiar with his character now, I think it's really funny that there was a discussion about that particular show and all of these shows and how they kind of ranked out. And that one of the fan theories is that that entire show is just him having a daydream because he's so bored in the engine room or something. Because you see him sitting there a bunch of times in Next Generation doing nothing. And so he's decided to make everything the worst thing possible. It makes him so useful in this world and all this stuff is happening.
It's O'Brien's fanfic.
It's O'Brien. Yeah, that's exactly O'Brien fanfic.
I like it. It makes me like it better, actually.
I kind of want to now I'm going to watch it with gusto and be like, this is all about O'Brien. It's
I've gone back and started. I started with my wife and we kind of had the both same thing going on where we remembered not liking it when we were kids. And it is definitely, it's not as adventurous as Next Generation. It doesn't hit all the same notes, but having gone back recently and started it again, I think 1 or 2, 3 episodes in, I'm like, oh, okay. No, this is absolutely watchable. And I think we will watch it after probably Next Generation even. Yeah.
Cool.
Because I've never seen that entire one.
Now what's the one with I want to say Kate Flannery,
Enterprise.
and that's not her name because Kate Flannery is the lady from The Office. The captain, the redheaded captain. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Voyager.
Is it Voyager? That's Voyager. Okay.
Yeah, and which I like. Yep.
Again, I know nothing about it.
No, if you're enjoying Next Generation and you want more of that.
So I am still in that boat of people said first season's not great, and I'm just sitting here going, man, that first season killed every moment of it. The second
much better than I remember.
Second season's fantastic. We're doing the damn thing.
You're gonna lose it for season 3 and 4 because at this point we're halfway through 4, so we're actually burning through the thing. And I'm like, this is just some of the best TV that's ever been. Period. I don't care Star Trek or not. It's just so well written, and the storylines and some of it's not. It's still from the 90s. Like,
but that doesn't mean anything,
No, but it's
I know
if it were made nowadays. In fact, okay, here you go. If it were made nowadays, they would try to do something like Star Trek Discovery. And
back on track. Nice.
It would look beautiful. Like Star Trek Discovery looks gorgeous. But this is my thing. This is what I think I figured out. It's looks like it's made by somebody. When I say looks, I'm not talking about looks here. I'm talking about feels. Sorry. Feels like it's made by somebody who, when questioned in some sort of Comic-Con type fashion or on a panel of some sort, eventually gets tired of all the dang Star Trek questions and says, man, who cares? I'm just trying to make good sci-fi. It has that feel to it, which isn't going to do a Star Trek series any favors. And that person may not exactly exist. This type of thing happens in the industry. You're right. That person probably does exist somewhere, somehow on this show. But the fact that it gets surfaced or that the show feels like that isn't going to be because of that one guy. But unfortunately, it does come out, I feel like, in this show. It's just... And yes, watching it concurrently with Star Trek The Next Generation is not doing it any favors at all. But it just doesn't feel like it has the soul of Star Trek, I think is what it is.
Yeah, it sounds just like it's a little, like maybe a little more vapid, a little emptier or something.
Yeah, it looks like a good sci-fi series. I wish it wasn't a Star Trek series, essentially. Because by slapping that name on it, it means that it's going to do certain things. And at this point, when it does those things, it just looks like somebody put them there because they had to.
Sure.
So, if I could reiterate Michelle Yeoh, though.
I mean...
Like, Michelle Yeoh, though.
Always. She's fantastic.
Watch it for that, but that's about it.
Very good.
That's the Star Trek Minute that probably lasted a few.
All right. So I will, I'll jump to, we're only, one episode out of, I think 3. We still haven't watched the last episode yet. But Lovecraft Country.
Oh, yes. How did this turn out? Let me tell you.
This is another one of those, wow, man. HBO is just going to go ahead and every show they put out that's remotely interesting to me is going to be good now, I guess.
Wow, okay. Following on the heels of Watchmen, I feel like you're referring to.
Exactly. I don't know anything about the book. Didn't read it. Didn't know anything about it. It came out some years ago.
Didn't know it was based on a book.
Yeah, so...
besides Lovecraft being... a written thing from or Lovecraft himself being the author. I guess is not that I'm okay. Sorry, please.
Anyways, getting to the point of something, who knows what. The show revolves around I'm
losing this episode.
This guy named Atticus, whose dad goes missing, and in the process he finds this letter that kind of invites him to come to, and I don't know what the deal is here. It's Ardham, Massachusetts instead of Arkham, because I don't know what the deal is, but it's something. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we won't.
Is Arkham a real place?
No,
in Massachusetts,
but it's the name of the actual place that when it comes to Lovecraft stuff, everything like Arkham is where a lot of stuff took place in Arkham, Massachusetts. And
I wonder if they just wanted to avoid that licensing or issues, like somebody somewhere would have made a stink. Like,
no, well, that's gonna go right out the window here. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
With the Batman stuff, I mean,
in any case, possibly that could be more likely. So basically, this all takes place in like the 30s, I want to say, or the 50s. I don't remember the timing on the show now, but he and his father and this, I guess it'd be the 50s, and this or maybe the 40s, I don't know. This friend of his, this female friend of his, they decide they're gonna go together. So they start driving, and as they begin driving, they are chased by racists who are gonna try and shoot. They're trying to shoot them, and they're yelling at them and all that. And then the car is crashed by this random white, really, really nice car, which then leads them into another part of the country where they meet a racist sheriff who, because again, everybody's a racist in this show, which it'll make sense.
Well, yeah, no, that was,
it's a huge part.
I feel like, yeah, right. Because Lovecraft, if nobody knows, has issues with that.
Flaming racist.
And yeah.
But the something this actually did bring up that I don't know that I ever like it wasn't something I was familiar with was they brought up the concept of a sundown county. Are you familiar with that?
Is it used in the same way that sundowning is used in, what was that? The Shamalama Ding Dong song movie, the Visitors, The Visit.
Sundown counties were counties where basically it was a way to have a racially segregated county, saying if you were black and you were out and you were out past sundown, you could be lynched and it was not illegal.
Oh, fantastic!
So the sheriff pulls them over, and our hero Atticus, he is very of that time but like the progressive version of that time, where he knows what not to say, what to say. He tries to get around it, get away from everything, and so that basically they get chased, and this is where it goes full on Lovecraft. They get chased to the county line, and they basically get blocked off by a bunch of other cops, and they're being dragged out into the woods, assuming to be lynched, when suddenly all of these Shoggoths attack them. And Shoggoths are
anticipating my question. Thank you.
You have to kind of like, this is a Shoggoths are these, they're a constant thing in the Cthulhu mythos, and they're kind of like, they're formless pustule things that have eyes and mouths in places, and they kind of use them here as like dogs, basically. So
liking it.
They tear apart all the racist guys, and if you get bit by one, you turn into one, and it leads them basically to the end of the episode where they are somehow, when they get out of the woods, they have no idea how, but they come upon like the most pristine, brilliant, gigantic mansion you've ever seen. And that was the end of the episode. And holy crap, man. That was the thing Beth said about it is it's very anxiety. She was very anxious for because it is extremely like, the racism is right on. It is all over the place, man. There is no
hard to watch to that point.
Yeah,
where
yes.
Gotcha.
She was like, this is. It could be tough.
So, from the outside looking in, I can grapple with a couple things that, for lack of a better term, this seems like a reclamation type show in that way, right? It's or even reclaiming might not be the appropriate word, but reappropriating. I don't know. Where even the hero's name Atticus, like we're gonna fix To Kill a Mockingbird even here, right? Does that, like, what more would you add to it besides, like, how does it exactly overall? How do you think it's trying to do that reappropriation? I can pick at some of the things just from what you've told me so far, but more deeply.
I see. I can't speak to it yet, because I think that's an overall thing that's going to happen throughout this show. I don't think this is like a one episode thing. I think that's going to be a constant.
And you say there's only 3 episodes of this
so far.
Okay, gotcha.
There's 10 in the season.
Okay.
I have no idea if it goes to another season or not.
Is this the final season? Just kidding. Awesome. Well, okay, here's a quick hit. I didn't even know if I was going to mention this one. Not that yours was even a quick hit. And it's definitely not as... this is a quick hit in every conceivable way, because I don't feel like it's doing half of what Lovecraft Country could or is doing even so far, just to hear you talk about it. But we watched the first episode of Umbrella Academy.
Man, okay, so you know what my issue is with that show right off the bat.
No idea.
Why Beth, it's so funny. So when it first came out, Beth turned it on, and she turned it on in bed, and I just immediately went to sleep because it has somebody in it.
Oh, you're right. Never mind. I do know what the issue is.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
And it kills the show for me, man. I can't. I just like. And she seriously, no joke, mentioned it yesterday. She was like, I think I want to start watching that because I keep hearing that season 2 is really good.
And I have nothing against Ellen Page, but she's not a draw in this thing, at least. So here's my...
She's a push me away is what she is.
Sure, but she's not pushing me away, but she's not. Okay. My main issue with the show probably extends to her. And yeah, I don't think it's that engaging. No, nobody can hear the engine in the background. Somebody leaving. It's not me. It's not the Simpsons where you've walked out the door, shut the slam, and then I can hear your car drive. Yeah. And yeah, I don't think it's that engaging. Like, honestly, it didn't grab me. It's super premise heavy, especially in the first episode. Is this based on an actual comic, by the way?
Yes.
Actually, I don't know.
It
Okay,
is.
all right. I'd be curious to see how that comic does.
Written by Gerard Way, the singer
Okay.
from some My Chemical Romance, I think.
Oh,
I don't know.
oh, really?
So here's all I can say about the guy is
Oh.
that he say whatever you want to say about whatever band he's in. I don't know if it's that one.
No,
He's in a
no.
band.
I think I've seen them in concert. They played with.
But
who
apparently
would they have played with?
he
I
has
don't
become
remember.
not apparently it's true. He's become very well liked in the comic book circles.
Nope.
So.
Nothing. Okay. I have nothing bad to say about the band or whoever he is. I don't know him.
Yeah,
I couldn't pick
I'm
him out of the lineup. But obviously, I know enough about the band to know what that conjures up. And the Umbrella Academy looks like it was made by a member of, what would you say, My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, and I think that's
Yes.
who it is.
Yeah. It certainly gives off that vibe. And I wouldn't say that's any of my issue with it. Like, that's fine. Like, I can dig that. It's dark. My issue is that I think it wants to be, at its best, a deconstruction of the superhero genre or the superhero, period. Like maybe he really does like Watchmen, but doesn't necessarily get why it's dark, doesn't get that it's a deconstruction. So this is what he's written because he loves that type of stuff. I think it wants to be dark and deconstruct in a way, but it also wants to have cool superhero things, which the Watchmen didn't, for all intents and purposes. Like, it wasn't concerned about cool superheroes, and this is still very much concerned with that. I think the first episode is very premise heavy. Not that it's not interesting, but it has the feel of a hook for hook's sake almost. So I want to give it more of a chance than just the first episode. But yeah, it's all these kids were born within minutes. Like the opening scene is this girl who jumps into a pool and comes out having a baby, out of nowhere, wasn't pregnant when she went in. So it's super interesting premise. And this happens with, I forget how many, 16 kids or something throughout the world. One guy figures it out and wrangles as many as he can and basically makes a superhero team out of it. And that's probably where most of the deconstruction comes from, because, the father, very much, you get the idea, wanted to, did like Marvel movies or something, or probably Hellboy comics more than anything. So wants to create that, but the kids have different issues with it. And this is many years later, and he has been murdered, and now they're trying to figure out his murder. So it's also a mystery. Again, just very premise heavy, it seems, which is fine. That's why I want to give it more of a chance, but not completely hooked just on that.
Yeah, the everything that you're telling me, the bummer, I think, is that I think the show that you want is the one that you're not gonna watch.
It's
because the show that you want is Doom Patrol.
Oh, really?
Doom Patrol is doing all the things that you're talking about the way you want it to be done, in a way that looks and feels probably a little more
aimed at my demographic.
No, it's just like I think it maybe in comparison to what you're saying, like it understands what it's doing in the deconstructions that it's making.
Okay.
Hold
Sure.
on for 1 second.
Will do. And to everybody else, it'll seem like a mere moment.
Okay. I can meet you halfway with comic book related stuff though.
Sure.
Just last night, actually, finished up season 5 of The Flash.
Oh boy. Okay, let's go. This is might be the first time I had nothing on any Arrowverse, which I know the term now, shows. So bring it. I've fallen off completely. I haven't seen a single one since last we talked about TV. So
but do you remember season 5 of Flash?
I'm sure. Yeah. What would give me the big bad? That's kind of what it revolves around, right?
Cicada.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
And Cicada 2. Electric Whinaloo. So my issue with this whole season is maybe, God, it's starting to become an issue with, I think, a lot of a lot of TV in general for me, because I know I've had this complaint before. They took a story and stretched it out way too long.
Sure.
And then on top of that, the ending I actually was very satisfied with. That the fact
Same.
that and we're gonna spoil this, that the entire season is actually predicated off of Reverse Flash trying to save himself and get himself out of the execution chamber that he's got, and he does so by using Flash's daughter and kind of tricks her into creating another timeline that will force her or allow her to get to know her dad that went missing in the upcoming season 6's Crisis,
right?
So that she never gets to meet, so she gets to spend time with him and all that. So conceptually, like, I love this whole idea. I love the idea that she comes back because of the crisis, and that they use that. I love that she, as a character, wants to get to know dad more, and I actually really liked the thorny bits with her, with Iris at the beginning. And then it takes like 6 or 8 episodes, but they actually do address it. And so we're not stuck with her being thorny to Iris the entire time. They have the discussion of, look, I get it that you wanted to know your dad, and so you're not, like, you got to spend time with your mom in the future,
even though and this is the interpersonal stuff in that series has always been the worst to me, and just sticks in every craw I have.
It can be pretty bad sometimes, for sure.
She's mad at Iris for how her mother Iris from the future acted.
Right. Which also,
not for how she's mad at her for something she has not done yet.
No, there are a number of that this whole season, that when it goes back to even the towards the end, the last 3 episodes or so, I think they maybe the one of my favorite Wells of all time so far, Sherlock. I like Sherlock.
Sherlock.
The ridiculous accent was so perfectly funny. It was so good. Tom
Cavanaugh, and I don't know how, continues to impress. You love him from Scrubs. I've never seen Scrubs. I just know him basically from this thing, and I'm somehow still enjoying him. Like,
the best part about knowing him from Scrubs is that he made such an impression, but he wasn't a regular on the show by any means.
Sure.
He's only on like 5 to 10 episodes maybe out of 8 seasons worth of show. But every episode he was in, he's like...
I mean, it's like roll your eyes enjoyment at this point, you know? It's like, there's no way you can explain it to somebody else. They'll just be like, that sounds stupid. And I'm like, yeah, right?
It does. And then so it was a great example of it was the other night when I've been watching these, and Beth she's watched all of Stargirl with me. She missed 1 episode.
Lame.
But she's never really watched Flash all that often, but lately she has been, because it's kind of what I've been watching before I go to bed. I just, for whatever, I don't know, I'm just on a Flash kick.
It doesn't take a lot of brain power, Matt.
That might be it.
It puts you to sleep.
and so she came downstairs the other day, and she this is like I don't know, a couple days ago. She comes downstairs and Sherlock is on screen, and then in like another section, they go, Nora runs back to back to the future. She runs back to the future to talk to Eobard, also played by Tom Cavanaugh. And she goes, okay, so what the hell's going on with this guy? I'm like, all right, so
how long do you got?
In the first season, Harrison Wells was, but I love that stuff. I actually really liked Nora overall. I thought that she was fine. There was, again, I think that story drug on for too long, especially when it comes to the way that they played with the little girl becoming Cicada, and how, like, the anger and all this stuff there. It's kind of like, I don't know, man. I just don't know. But
it hinged on a little girl being pretty evil, or
being totally mad, and so being mad. Okay, the whole season hinges on a little girl being angry because her parents were killed in an accident because of a metahuman. And then her uncle, who ends up taking her in, who didn't really want her, but then they come to form that really loving relationship, talks to her in her coma, and is just constantly saying, we got to kill all the metas, we got to kill them all, because that's what you're telling them in their like, that's what you're telling anybody in their coma, we're gonna kill everybody. Which has made her now nuts. So when they go into her mind, which again, it's a Flash, of course that they can.
Mhm.
She's like, I don't believe any of you. You all have to die. You're all liars. Like, it's illogical in so many ways, but
I don't mind. It's funny because I don't mind the arc overall, kind of how I don't mind the season overall. Like, I look back and be like, yeah, that was a good season. That was one of the good ones.
Yeah, it was fine.
But I think the way they've tried to focus on a big bad per season, which at first I kind of enjoyed, and not that it hasn't worked. Like, I like Zoom, I like Reverse Flash, like those seasons are cool, right? When they did it for the later seasons, it felt like they couldn't really sustain it for that long. It did feel like they drug it out instead of having a solid idea.
I think the other issue is that that Flash is a difficult one, because Flash in so many ways is kind of like Superman, but with even fewer real, like Superman, it's kryptonite and lead. Those are the two things that stop Superman. Flash, he kind of can get around everything, so they always have to go out of their way to find a way to stop him from having his speed.
Well, especially that show that they just mess with how fast he can actually go. Sometimes he can go this fast. Sometimes the guy with the gun is just, there's nothing you can do.
I mean, it's the comic books. The Flash can move as fast as the writer needs him to move.
There you go.
Right? It's like the first couple seasons you had Reverse Flash, you had Zoom, and you had Savitar. So you basically had three speedsters in a row. So, okay, great. We've established Barry is fast. What happens when he fights somebody slow? It takes an entire season, apparently.
Man, you just made it all make sense.
But there is a point with where I think I think that show would be better served if they treated it a little bit more like a comic book, where with comic book continuity, you can keep all the stuff that you're doing, but you do your stories in, 6-issue arcs. So do a 6-issue arc, do a 6-episode arc, do 3 of them for a season. That's fine. You have like 4 more episodes to add on. Great. Now you can do your like little finales for each one and make a big, interesting finale for each little arc.
It would be nice.
It would be cool. Like, it would be really interesting because you can allow them to grow as much as you need to. You can give them all sorts of different adventures. You can easily can this and bring it down and have it be the down home. We're not going to run this time adventure for 6 episodes, and you don't lose anything.
You are talking about advanced TV filmmaking at this point. Like, I feel like X-Files might be, honestly, yeah, I feel like X-Files might be the standout, like the one that had this figured out in a lot of ways. Even though they too, going on so long, that's the problem here. They've gone on so long that they have to take into account, or think that they do, have to take into account everything that they've done so far, and it's just that it becomes this thing that you can't keep track of, that has to do this for this reason, or they need to retcon before they can do this and that.
And again, it's the Flash is, again, unique in that respect too, right? Because, I mean, and this season, and I was telling you this is one of the other issues I guess I had with the season, the amount of times that Nora is going in and out of the future back and forth. Like, they made it very clear early on that don't do it. She does it a bunch of times throughout the season, but there's one episode where she literally does it enough times because she's trying to figure out the right permutation of thing to happen so nobody on Team Flash gets killed. But in
that was a good episode. I want to say that might have been a Kevin Smith episode, actually.
Great episode. Breaks all of the things we've ever heard about time travel, though. Like,
but that's a good example, because I guess if it's good enough, you don't care about the other stuff,
not at all,
you know?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, man, imagine if Arrow was good. You wouldn't even care about all the stupid things they did.
Does not compute. Actually, it does. You just go back and watch the first
3 seasons?
2 seasons,
2 and a half. Yeah. And then each episode that has Deathstroke in it, you can watch that one, but then after that, you're out.
Did he continue?
He pops up
That
here
actor.
and there.
Are there 2 different Deathstrokes now that we have to keep track of? Not counting the movies.
No, I mean,
No.
I don't
Okay.
think
Was
so.
it him the whole time? All right. I feel like I must be thinking of something else. All right. I feel like all of our quick hits are not quick at all. Sounds familiar.
I got here. Let me do this. Let me. I can set for myself.
I guess technically, yes, you are allowed to whatever's on your side. Volleyball.
I can do.
If you've played volleyball before, write in. Let us know what the other thing is on the other side. 2 hits.
I can
volleys.
do it.
Volleys.
I can do. There it is.
It might be volleys. You're allowed to. What's the next?
So it's actually 3 that I will condense into a 1.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pseudo related. The toys that made us, the movies that made us, and High Score.
Oh, okay.
All 3 documentaries. High Score is the only one I have not finished. High Score, I'm 3 episodes in out of, I think, 8. Maybe 10. How many are there in this? There's 6, so I'm halfway through. First couple, pretty good, pretty interesting. The movies that made us and the toys that made us are ostensibly the same show.
I was gonna say they are right
with
because I also watched one this past week too. We watched the episode for. We've seen the one for Home Alone, and we just watched the one for Ghostbusters. And fascinating, yes, but the format to explain what apparently the toys that made us looks like also is we love the 90s essentially, right? Like it's one of
that's
those.
all it is. That's all it is,
and it grates. It is.
They are, and I watched a lot. I watched a lot.
It's fine. Like it does what it's supposed to in that it kind of just washes over you. But man, if you're sitting there trying to pay attention, or not even that it doesn't make me laugh or smile sometimes because it's got that gaggy thing the whole time, but it's just the dude in the hole and the. I wish it was a documentary instead.
I wish these were more documentary like. High Score is actually significantly better.
Okay.
Definitely sit down and watch that. You'll like that one. That one.
Well, I'm gonna sit down and watch the rest of the other ones, but I need some time in between each episode.
The other ones. So I honestly, the movies that made us just go. If you didn't watch Dirty Dancing or you're skipping it, you're almost done. You watch Die Hard and you're finished. There's only 4 episodes.
Right. Definitely gonna watch Die Hard. I don't have any affinity for Dirty Dancing, but my wife does, so I'm thinking we'll.
It was fine,
but
okay. Again, it's like it is the same show. They're all the same show. It's with that slightly different, the
what went wrong in this.
Right, here's how this happened, and actually, the Die Hard one. So the Die Hard one I watched a long while back. I feel like actually kind of irked me because I think that they got some information wrong.
Boy, that's the type of show that's part of the problem here is you feel like it's the type of show where entertainment is paramount, not necessarily information.
And I will say, so the toys that made us.
What episodes do they have in there? I haven't even looked.
So all of them. I watched all of them. There's 12 of them. Star Wars, Barbie, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Star Trek, Transformers, Lego, Hello Kitty, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, professional wrestling.
Wow.
So
that feels laser focused on my brain.
Which is why this one was a much easier one to watch because it was totally like there's my childhood right there, like in every respect.
I can't think of one they left out.
It's all.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
It's fine. It's all very samey. It all has the same look, same feel, the same goofy, over a narrator and stuff. The information on these, I think, more so is interesting, dependent on the interest in the property itself. So the ones that were the most interesting, Star Wars wasn't that interesting, actually. Pretty boring because you already really know that story, even if you don't think you do. And by proxy, you kind of know a lot of the other ones after that. They all like. If you watch,
they're just copying what Star Wars being kind of the exemplar for all of this, right? Like Lucas was the genius
in that respect. Yeah, like Barbie is a little more interesting because you do get get the whole thing in the 50s. A lot of it is more the interest is definitely in the inspirations and what some of the creators had to say. So some of the He-Man stuff was interesting, but like some of the Star Trek stuff, again, it's like Star Wars. You kind of know all this stuff, so it's not that fun. Lego, pretty interesting because I've only ever known little bits here and there. Hello Kitty was super interesting because I don't know anything
Makes
about
sense.
it, but I
Makes
know,
sense, yeah.
but I've known of it forever. My favorite ones were actually the Turtles, and the professional wrestling one, and they were also. The Turtles one was the most interesting because they straight up talked to Eastman and Laird, and
Oh, they're in the show?
they're in the show, and
that's cool.
and they straight up talk about how we didn't like each other, we stopped talking to each other, and
Okay.
like
all right.
and so you actually get a little bit of the background on those two having their breakup.
Which is funny because it has probably nothing to do with the toys, actually. In fact, hearing you say Turtles was one of your favorite, I'm like, well, that's a show or a toy you would lump into. It sounds like the majority of these where like the show was there to sell turtles, would sell toys,
Yes.
and the toys were there to sell the show, maybe.
Totally.
You know, it's just...
This is, they do talk to, and the reason, when you watch it, you understand why. Because... I mean, they do talk about the comic book. They talk about how that all came to be. They talk about where the cartoon comes from.
Yeah.
And you hear about the split. You hear about the divorce that the two had. You hear about how the cartoon really did sell. And then like the reminder that after you and I grew up, they never stopped with the Turtles.
No. Yeah.
So that one was super interesting. Also for you get your 2 seconds with Vanilla Ice.
In every episode, I'm hoping.
Yes.
Did I say we love the 90s or not?
That's right. And then the professional wrestling one too was super interesting because that one was less interesting because of the people, like the property, and more that one was actually kind of interesting in how the figures ended up getting manufactured and the deals that were going on under the table behind closed doors. Actually really interesting and super fun to watch. So
yeah, we've rolled those into kind of, I mentioned I'm trying to show my daughter documentaries as part of her education type thing. And we've rolled, well, having just done Ghostbusters, we rolled that into kind of this now because we were
nice
looking for some. So yeah, I guess like the toy thing, I don't know how much, but
High Score though. High Score is actually totally worth it. It's
okay.
They like
it's the video game one, right?
Yeah. It is, yeah. And that one, like it's a little more I don't want to say holistic, but it does kind of touch on a lot more in the space, where the first episode was totally talking about the Atari. They talked about Space Invaders, the first international Space Invaders winner, the Pac-Man and Nolan Bushnell and Atari, and it kind of ends with E.T. And the follow-up episode picks up with Nintendo and kind of gets into the World Championships and the some of the lawyer stuff that goes on there. Right. The follow-up, the third episode, which is as far as I got, dug into all the RPG stuff, which is super interesting. The fourth episode, which I will probably watch right after this, actually, is the one that I'm most excited to watch. It is called This Is War, and it's about the console wars. It's straight up about Sega pushing and the Genesis, the Genesis and the Nintendo and Madden and all that stuff. So
here's a question.
Okay.
Do you think my wife and daughter would enjoy watching it? Maybe,
actually, yeah. This is because it's not, they're not focusing on not the video games themselves. They're not digging into like, this is a pretty well done thing. And actually the first episode, one of the most interesting things to me being a gamer, is the children of Jerry Lawson have a little, like, not a lot of time.
Oh, cool.
But Jerry Lawson's the guy who created the cartridge.
Oh,
he built the game cartridge. He's the inventor of the actual cartridge. That was, but he doesn't get the attention because when he built it for a console that would never make it anywhere.
You'll be proud of me, but my head went to whatever the wrestling Lawson is.
Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler, thank you. Okay. Why did I
don't know, but I love the King.
I just saw him on something. What am I watching?
Okay. Because I sent you a trailer for that stupid wrestling game that I think looks ridiculously fun.
That is it. Okay, all right.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
totally. So all related, but yeah, I would say, the kid definitely, I think might be into. Well,
Okay.
it's a little historical, so I don't know. It's
Well, no, that's kind of
So-
what I'm looking for. I mean, and she's not loving every documentary I'm throwing her way. That's kind of part of it because she's learning.
give it a shot. It's
Okay.
It's interesting.
I might put the other two on hold for that one.
Toru Iwatani makes an appearance in there too, and that was my favorite part because Toru Iwatani is the creator of Pac-Man. And
Miss Pac-Man,
and they do talk about Ms. Pac-Man. They do straight up mention.
We put a bow on him.
That's
let's come back
it.
to that when we both finish the series, which I believe will happen.
Yeah.
Mine's really quick and related to your toy thing. Okay, I know these episodes are usually longer, so I'm not going to get too caught up here, but we still have Stargirl. So what if I go even quicker than normal? 4 Lego Masters.
Oh yeah, that's a building show, yeah, on Netflix.
That is the building show.
Is it a competition?
Yes, it's a reality TV show wherein they bring was it 6 couples? Must have been more than that to begin with, but they're in couples, 6 teams of 2. It's 10 teams of 2. Let's say, I don't know. And
so when are we doing this?
oh, when are we?
When are we signing up for this?
No. Oh, this is okay. For as much as I love Legos, I am complete garbage at creating anything of my own.
Oh yeah, no. Me
I've
neither.
never been able to do it. Much like I can draw, and I can. In high school, I was all about tagging or whatever, but like, give me a structure or a frame to reproduce. Maybe a still life I can do it, but anything, like, I'm just bad. So Legos, same thing. I can't create anything of my own accord. These people can, and predictably they're amazing at that. Like, that's not hard to believe that people out there can do this. Even the Lego employees, like, I'm always fascinated with the process of, in fact, if you get some of these newer sets, they usually come with books that explain a little bit of their process. I find pretty fascinating, but that's fascinating on its own. But they also come up with just the perfect challenges. And I don't watch reality TV is the other thing I should mention. Like, my wife has been into it forever since we got married. Like, she was already stuck on Survivor, and just from then it branched out. Amazing Race. I'm lucky The Bachelor's never come into play.
I don't think you're allowed to say I don't watch reality TV anymore. It's kind of like I'm not allowed to say that because I have watched way too much RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay, so picture in a world where that is a difficult thing for anybody to believe. It's mostly true. Like, I can't think of another reality TV show where I've given in. I mean, I'll sit
Hell's
there.
Kitchen.
No, never.
The Walking Dead.
You got me.
Ah, yes. Mind games.
But I am hooked. And yes, I'm a Lego fanboy, so of course I'm hooked. But I feel like the show itself needs to be good outside of that. And this is... They come up with the perfect challenges, which I should have noted here. The one that comes to mind immediately is they came up with a bridge challenge where they had to build a bridge that supported a certain amount of weight. In fact, that's the episode I would say you could watch that by itself. It is fantastic because, yes, everybody's come up with different approaches, and some of them are legit based in, architecture and stuff like that. So that's fascinating all on its own. But then to see them put the weight on there, and to be like, okay, because that was how the person won that challenge, was whoever could support the most weight. So to see which bridges supported more weight and how much they ended up supporting was insane. Like, me and my wife were literally going nuts over the thing, just looking at each other like, I was amazed even for that show how much I liked it.
It's on Netflix, right? Is that where it is?
Hulu, I want to say. I think
Okay.
we watched it on Hulu, yeah. And I'll also say it's hosted by 2 Lego employees, I'm pretty sure, in some form or another, and they are just exactly how you think Dutch TV people would be. They just, like, I wish we had more of them in the States.
Sure.
In fact, I don't think they are both Dutch. One of them is not. One of them is, oh boy, Irish or Scottish, and now I've offended more people. But the American host they put in there was Will Arnett, and I love Arrested Development. So I love Will Arnett, but
correct.
We've had a troubled relationship since. I will admit, I don't think I've really attached with anything else he's done, and he's done plenty of other critically acclaimed stuff. BoJack Horseman I tried, and we'll probably retry at some point because I've heard that's a second season to see.
BoJack is rough, man. That's just
Okay.
it's a rough show. Like
But I hear it makes something of it. Like it makes a turn on.
This is all I'll say about it because I haven't finished it, but it is like Ian is pretty, like, he doesn't love a lot of, like, he likes stuff, but he doesn't. That was a thing that he was like genuinely like attached to. He loved it. So,
but I tried. I can't even remember what the live action show was that he did also for Netflix. I tried that, kind of fell off. So Will Arnett has not been a guaranteed for me, and he's good in this. Like, all of his improv is good. They do have some scripted moments in there. Oh, another one of the challenges they do is they build something that is just meant to be dropped from 2 stories up. So the way they design it, they try to take into account like how it will then explode type thing.
Sure.
It's rad.
Okay,
and,
I'm gonna watch this after.
He excels at that. Seriously worth it. So super fun show. That's quick. I actually made it quick, I think, maybe.
Nice.
Do you have another quickish one? Because I have 2. Probably not as quick as they could be.
I can, yeah. Let me knock these out. I got 3 more, and these will actually be very fast.
Okay.
What We Do in the Shadows season 3 just ended. Show is continuously hilariously the best. Or season 2. What was it? Season 3.
I thought season 2 was all
the best show, man. That show is just so funny. Freaking Mark Hamill showed up in this season.
Oh, that's right. Did we talk about this last TV volleyball?
Probably but I hadn't finished yet.
Maybe we just mentioned it in another thing.
It's amazing. Anyway. It's still one of the funniest shows ever. The Boys, I have been doing a rewatch of that. I'm almost done with the first season because season 2 is rolling around. I think this Friday.
Getting ready for 2.
I'm really excited about it.
Does it hold up from the first time you watched it?
It's even better. It's just even better.
His wife is alive.
It's so mean. That show is just so mean. It's mean, dude.
Hey, that's another one that should be deconstructing the superhero in some sort of way, right?
Oh, and they're definitely, they're well, so the way they deconstruct it is they're deconstructing kind of the reaction to it. What would we do? And it's like, so not only at the end of season 1 do we find out there are no superheroes, everybody was man-made, and all of these people were
spoiler.
It's all like a compound that was injected into a number of unknowing pregnant women.
Though I like that because that means they can be unmade, which I feel like is
potentially
deconstructed even.
Which and now in theory, if they were to have children, they could have powers, which I think is what we're getting to with season 2 and his kid. I think his son. He's testing his son to see if he's got powers. But it's also not only was this an injection done. The company that created the compound and the injection also owns the heroes, and they're a giant media conglomerate. And the point the point we get into the show in the first season, they are in the midst of trying to get a military contract to have the superheroes run the military, which would privatize the military.
Great. That's actually all right.
Yeah, it's really good. So Boys rewatch so far, going good. Almost done with it. Last thing, not technically a TV show, but it is episodic. It's every week and it goes until it ends. I have been super watching Critical Role. I've been like the most recent season. Like, I've actually been watching it live when they've been playing, which is late at night on Thursdays for me. If you like D&D, it's great. If you're interested in D&D, it's really fun. You can download it as a podcast, which really you don't have to see what they're doing because it's a vocal game. I mean, they are definitely together in the room, so they're
watch that clip you sent, one of the clips you sent me, or some of it. It was a 3-hour clip, so I didn't watch all of it. But
that's a whole show, not even a clip. But yes, but they're all in the one room, but it's all well recorded at this point. They've got really high quality mics and stuff, and it is D&D, so it's all mostly talking. It's a lot of storytelling and questions, and I'm gonna do this, and they roll their dice, and
they do that.
It's great, man. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I totally understand why people watch it, and
It's a big investment. Like I want to watch it, but I just don't.
Again, it's something that I put on in the background. Like I do sit down and I will definitely watch it because I like it, but it's a podcast to me now. It's I just
that makes more sense.
And I listen to and it's fun because I know what's going on. I pay attention to it in the same way that I pay attention to podcasts, so I know the story and if they start all laughing at something, I'll rewind it a little bit to see if I missed something, but it's I like it.
All right, okay. Yeah, I've actually considered a YouTube minute on this TV volleyball thing here, but at this point it's kind of like, why even delineate, really? You did the right thing. You just brought it in.
Just roll it out. I don't care.
Was that's you said 3?
And that's all I got. And outside of the mighty Stargirl.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay. I finished up the last episode of the last season of s.h.i.e.l.d., which is a show I don't know if we've talked about on TVVB in any real... I know I've said at one point that it was my favorite or even the best comic book show on at the moment, which at the time I said that until we changed our minds like 3 consecutive times after that. I believed and still believe, but I don't know if we've actually ever sat there and talked about the show or if I've ever actually brought it up as a contender or something.
It's certainly been talked about. Part of the issue is that I only watched the first handful of episodes and it was not entertaining to me at all. And it was a show that I have only ever heard, oh yeah, no, it's a season 2 show. Just move forward and everything gets better.
Well, season 2 is where Winter Soldier happened. So Hydra pops up and that show gets to deal with it. And that's kind of always been one of the tensions with the show is that it's in universe and not like Netflix in universe. It's like network TV in universe. So they kind of had to contend with what the movies were doing. And yes, the first season, I thought the same thing. Like we had enough fun with it. It became something me and my wife watched. Not anything that I was like, man, I can't wait to see what happens next, really, until Hydra shows up, and then the show gets super interesting, so, not just because of what the movies are doing, but of its own accord even.
And I just recently read, because the show had its series finale, right?
Yes.
And
yes, the whole thing's over.
I read an interview with the creators, Jonathan Nolan and whoever it was, I don't know.
I think there's a Whedon on there.
Maybe it's the other Whedon. I don't know. Yeah. Whoever, it's Jonathan Whedon. I don't know. Whatever the other person is, the creators of the show, and one of the things they said that they had a hard time with was the in-universe stuff and how to work it, and the fact that I guess they knew during season 1 that Hydra was coming, but they were never allowed to say it. They couldn't allude to it.
Bet.
They couldn't do anything. And I guess they were kind of hands tied and waiting because that was when they knew they were going to be able to blow stuff open.
Much of the show does feel like hands tied at certain key moments, and I think at best they bring in Deathlock. I think that's the biggest name they get for the thing. Otherwise, it's Inhumans. Oh, you're right. You're freaking right. Yeah. In fact, Ghost Rider made that show for a long time. That's a rad season, actually.
But the funny thing being that it's not even like it's not the Ghost Rider that I am familiar with. It's the newer Ghost Rider who doesn't even ride a motorcycle, so it's dumb.
They give him a motorcycle.
Does he actually get his motorcycle and keep it?
I think he does at some point. I think he gets a motorcycle. But you're right. I think it's a car. But yeah, it's I think it's still a character from the comics. But yes, it's like a much later.
He is. I just think the car is stupid.
Very possibly. Those seasons are good. Those are worth watching. In fact, those might have been because after that they appear to take the easy way out in that they just set the whole thing in the future in space. So it's like we don't even need to worry about the universe at this point, And they do bring in like it's a series, it's a season set in space with the Kree and stuff like that. So they get to do some interesting things with characters you've heard of from the comics or a race you have at least. So that might have been the weakest season though. So going into this final season was kind of a question mark because it's the last of the show, but does it go out with a whimper? Does it still have to mess with the in-universe stuff? It ends up being kind of a combo of both. They are time traveling. So, they're at a distance from the universe.
Yeah.
But it also seems like, since the cinematic universe also is kind of tied a bow with Endgame, I feel like they did have a little more leeway. And to their credit, they choose to take the time traveling aspect from Endgame, where the whole, they did it differently than Back to the Future. They did it where if you time travel, that's your new future. What you change in the past isn't going to change what's happening to you or something. Like, you can go back, your parents can die. It doesn't mean you're going to die because now your future is now type thing,
Yeah. It's their weird nonsense. Whatever.
It took a while to get used to in Endgame, honestly, but they made it work here. Maybe I was just used to it by then. And in a way that absolutely brought me back in, they time travel from, like, I want to say 1910 or 20s. It's Prohibition era. That's where they start. From Prohibition era through the 80s. And each time, I want to say it might actually only be 6 episodes before they finally get into it's a 12 episode season. So towards the end is when they're basically just concerned with wrapping everything up. But for those first 6 or 7 episodes, each different time period gets a different skin. No, actually that doesn't do it justice.
Oh yeah, no, they did like a full on set and everything. Like, and they did like yeah.
Well, no, not just that, but like the one in the 50s is a noir. Like, Coulson has a malfunction because at this point he's a spoiler, but not really, an LMD. He's half life model decoy. He's a robot.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah.
So the malfunction at the beginning of that episode is that he has an inner monologue for some reason. So it becomes the hard-boiled detective story. Yeah. And something's wrong with his vision, so the whole episode's in black and white.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But they do that for, again, Prohibition era. They do that for 50s noir. They do it for 80s action horror, which, like, you would love that episode a lot. And there's one other I'm forgetting, but was also good. I don't care. It brings you in. You want to see what they do next, but also it's well written. They're self-contained in a way that, because they can't control where they're going to, so they time travel after that. And they make maybe the best decision, maybe my favorite decision of the entire series. In that noir episode, they bring in Sousa from Agent Carter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's freaking rad. In fact, at the beginning of that episode, the girl Simmons is impersonating Peggy Carter, and then he shows up and is like, "You're not Peggy Carter." But at that point, he's already an agent of s.h.i.e.l.d. It takes place after his series. But they bring him in for the rest of the season too.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
rad. Yeah, it's super cool. I loved that addition. They didn't do a ton with them. You don't see him obviously an awful lot. In fact, at the very end, which is this, I'm trying to do this quick. The other thing I'll say is that for the epilogue, they come together 1 year later and they're all like, this is what we're doing now. They don't bring him back for that, which is fine. They kind of stick with core cast, even though they're not concerned with bringing back people that have been in the series over the years. Like, there's no reappearance, I won't get into it, from actors that have left the series. It has one of the best Tybo, like, this is what everybody's doing now, end of the show. It's perfect. I have no complaints at all. It's a really, really good final season. Also just a really good season of that show, period.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. makes Ryan love Tybo.
Did I say Tybo? Oh, Tybo. Yes. Yes. So Tybo. Oh, no, I had one other one. Oh, okay.
Bow tie. Okay.
This can be quick. I did already mention it. Cobra Kai.
Everyone you've said is quick is not.
Was that?
I also said that.
Look at me. We're over an hour.
Cobra Kai is now on Netflix.
It is, and I'm happy to see because they're doing a third season. I just finally finished up the first season. In fact, I shotgunned that thing like want to say within this last week, I watched the last 7 episodes or whatever it was.
Sure. Johnny Karate. It's a better show than it should have been.
I think it might be better than that, man. I really, really like the first season of Cobra Kai. I'm 1 episode into the second season, so I don't know. I think this is the show I was mentioned. Is it? Oh, okay, all right. This is the show that I would mention that the first season is kind of just plays out like the first half season of a season 1, where it ends. You could see season 1 and season 2 just being season 1 of any other show, really, but this was a YouTube type thing. So whatever that means anymore, that was the show I was talking about when I mentioned that. When I did mention I had started watching it, do you remember what my big question was?
Will Johnny actually complete his test?
Okay, that's essentially it. So it is Johnny's show, and it is concerned with his. I mean, the show's called Cobra Kai, right? Johnny being the bad kid from. Was that the first Karate Kid, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, who
gets kicked in the face at the All Valley tournament. Hello.
Right. Yes. So it's his show. It's concerned with his journey, and at this point, he has become this disillusioned adult, alcoholic that still thinks and still holds a flame for those things that happened back then, and is just a bad person, and is the type of person that thinks, that kids are babied nowadays, which I don't completely disagree with, but takes it to that nth degree, is the type of guy. I think when we first talked about it, I said he's the type of guy that I feel like would use the term snowflake in a way that
yes.
drives me absolutely insane. That type of guy, just irredeemable in a lot of ways. So my issue with the show was like, okay, I'm enjoying watching this guy, even though he's a jerk. And for the entire, up until the last episode, I still had the question of whether or not the show sided with him. Because yes, you're watching the show, you're watching him be this jerk and have these questionable beliefs and tactics. There are so many good episodes.
Mentoring a kid. I mean, that's a huge, like it starts off with the one kid immediately.
Right. And who kicks another kid's butt at school. And then everybody's like, oh, that was rad because it goes viral. So they all come. So now he's teaching a bunch of kids, but they're all quote unquote nerds. Right. So he's super mean to them. And I guess what I'm skirting around is that bullies and bullying is all over this thing. Johnny was essentially bullied as a kid by Kreese. The kid that he takes on as his student was bullied. Like, when he gets all of those students and they're all nerds, it's basically the guy who was hurting back, right? It's just all over this thing, that the cycle. So what I was concerned with, because as he teaches his students this life view that he has, that has become since he was bullied and essentially turned into Kreese, that's the tension here. Has he? I was unsure of whether or not the TV show was going to validate that, essentially, because yes, I get we have Ralph Macchio and I love where they've put him, how this total douchebag.
He is such a douche.
Kind of lost his way. It's great. I'm telling you, it's fantastic. Nobody's the winner here. Like, you don't look at Macchio, which you do in The Karate Kid. You don't look at Macchio and be like, oh, he's the good guy, he's the bad guy. There's never, I mean, yeah, Macchio's got to learn a couple things and then forget them for Karate Kid 3 or whatever it was. But still, this is not that. Everybody's messed up. And by the end, like I said, up until the last episode, I'm like, okay, essentially, I get that if Cobra Kai wins, it validates Johnny's opinion, even if and again, going more quickly, there's another episode where he gets kind of that turnaround. He throws away all his beer bottles. He goes and pays off his dad and tells him off, and that bow is tying a lot of bows. And that leads into another half episode of him reconciling with I keep calling him Ralph Macchio, freaking
Daniel LaRusso.
Daniel LaRusso, thank you. And it's a fantastic episode, right? Because the whole episode, you're like, man, I want them to get together. I want them to be cool with each other, stuff like that. It's done super well in that episode. They do get together. I just wasn't sure for the entire series whether or not the show itself was validating Johnny's point of view. And it all came together at the last, where I don't think it is. I think it does finally draw that line, obviously, because if it didn't, that's pretty messed up. But again, I don't know. This is YouTube here. They can do anything.
Yeah, there are no rules. They're a law. It's a lawless country.
Yeah. So sorry, I had to get it out. But man, I freaking love Cobra Kai season 1.
You and Ian once again coming back to the
Did
show.
You like that one
Ian
too?
loved Cobra
man,
Kai,
okay.
man. He was super into it.
Now I really got to watch BoJack.
Telling you.
Do you got any quick thoughts about Cobra Kai? I don't want this just to be
No, I like Cobra Kai. It was good. I don't think I liked it as much as you did. I'll go back and rewatch the first season. I never watched the second season, so I'll check it out again. It's been calling my name, but okay. I also like I liked the Karate Kid when I was younger. I like all the movies. I watched it a lot. I don't really care.
I don't think I did. Honestly,
I don't really like none of it. It just like I don't know. It's never-ending story for me.
I don't know either, honestly. Like, I think I do agree that it's better than it has any right to be, but also I don't know why I'm so into it. Maybe it is the bullying thing. Like, there is a moment that they throw away, but in the middle where all those nerds do show up, and his star student, the one he's had since the beginning, he's talking with, and he's like, yeah, I wanted a full dojo, but not like this. And he's trying to talk to him about this stuff. And he's like, I don't think you get it. I don't think you know what it's like to be one of us. And I was one of them. You know, I was not a Johnny in high school. You know, I was I can't remember the kid's name. I was a Daniel. I wasn't even a Daniel LaRusso. I was whoever this.
You were a Ryan Miller.
So that part, I'm like, yeah, you know, that, and it's a perfect pivot point for him to be like, okay, you know, I never thought about, I don't know what it's like to be you. I just know what it's like. But then it shows how actually I was, you know, I grew up in a rich side of town, but my dad was a jerk to me and I was a nerd until I took karate. And in that moment, I was disappointed. But by the end, they turn it into, you know, him telling his dad off and Machio having this really cool scene with his student, which ends up being Johnny's son, where he says that, you know, he basically lays it on Kreese. You know, he calls, like I said, bullied all over this thing. He calls it back and be like, you're only as good as your teacher sometimes, especially growing up. And he had one of the worst teachers possible. And it's showing, it uses all the 80s callbacks, all the footage it uses from the other movies. It's just so well done. Like, I'm constantly surprised. That's it. I'm done.
We are now just officially a Karate Kid podcast.
All right. Now can we do Stargirl?
Yes, I think now we can talk about Stargirl.
Oh boy.
This is gonna have to be.
We should have done it first.
It's gonna have to be a whole episode unto itself.
You know what? Whatever. The TV ones are always longer.
Maybe it only takes. Maybe it goes quick.
We know that we like it. We can save time on that, right?
Can definitely save time on that. Here are the pluses for the show for me. Love the casting through and through. Everybody.
Yep. Not a single complaint.
I think.
Oh, I lied. I have a single complaint.
Okay,
but please continue.
Who is it? Is it Beth?
Your wife? No, I love Beth. Not like that.
Why not? What's wrong with no?
Oh, dang it! I misread the situation. No, Beth.
Dr. Midnight.
She's not my favorite, but no.
She was.
It's Mike.
She was. It's Mike.
Yes.
That's so funny because I was actually saying I think that kid was used just the right amount, and as the character that he needed to be, I think it worked out. Like I was fine with his arc all the way through, and it all made sense to me. Like every ounce of it made sense to me.
This is good. Let's start with what we dislike because it's going to go uphill from here. What's up with Beth?
Oh, well, when the show first started and we're first introduced to her character, I did not like the super positive affectation that she was putting on. It was just very like, okay. I can see that. But once she got the goggles, it's like the episode, like maybe like right after she got the goggles, I liked her fine. She was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, no, she's good. I like her.
I think maybe what kept me on board with that is because it did feel like an affectation, because she sits at the loser table. Sits at the loser table, and it like makes her parents lunches all the time, FaceTimes them while they eat it.
Yeah,
it just seemed like so try hard that I was like, oh, she's super depressed. I guess. I don't know if that was
very likely.
That's me again bringing something to the show here, but
you're like, as I'm sitting here just dropping pill upon pill into my water to watch it dissolve.
So I guess that's why I didn't but yeah, I also agree that, you know, once I like her as Dr. Midnight. Yeah. Mike, dude, I don't know. I think he's partially supposed to be unlikable. Like he's a brat kid. And it's probably necessary.
That's so funny.
No, you didn't?
I don't think so. I didn't think so. Like, I mean,
gosh,
I thought...
He drives me nuts.
I thought he was like, he definitely has a little bit of bratty kid syndrome, but he also... He never really goes off on anything until like the last couple of episodes, where he kind of rightfully so. We don't see him getting a lot of one-on-one time with his dad that he had, and... yeah, he feels left out, but they also resolve that fairly quickly. They make him not a total jag by having him recognize that he himself made a bad decision, and he goes and apologizes to Courtney, which, maybe the most unbelievable thing out of the entire show, including all the superhero stuff. Like an 11-year-old apologizing to a 14-year-old.
I guess I did like him better by the end. And I feel like that part where he does get jealous should bug me more than it did. But I guess I kind of bought that too. I don't know. Maybe it's not completely defensible, but yeah.
No, you don't have to like him. I mean, no, look, dude.
I think part of it is that he's made to be
I don't
unlikable.
like Ellen Page in anything. So it's if you think
let's not bring it back to that just yet. Well, also I feel like that distance needed to be put there because yes, his arc was jealousy by the end, but also the entire point of this thing is Courtney and Pat's relationship.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
I feel like it needed to be backgrounded some anyway, so that's fine. Honestly, I could have done without him in the show, maybe entirely. I don't think I would have lost a whole lot.
Gee, I'm sure Pat really likes you, appreciates that. What a jerk. Book club for movies. Okay. Ryan hates kids.
All right, so we've got the bad out of the way. Is there? Oh, that's not true. I had one other thing.
Hit me.
Maybe it's actually towards the end. We'll save it.
Yeah, well, hit me. I want to know what your bad thing is. I'm curious. What's your?
I didn't love their take on Grundy.
Okay.
Maybe not even their take, but their look. I know Grundy has never been terribly.
I did not.
Eloquent.
I did not like the look.
But, I didn't like
the overly CGI. This was one of those.
Hair that's just wet all the time. I mean, I get he was swampy, but I don't know.
This is one of those funny moments where I don't think Grundy works. But if you're gonna use him, it's kind of one of those. Well, do you make him what Grundy is supposed to be, or do you make him more like in Gotham, where they had a giant, like a big dude? Butch was a big guy, but he ain't that big.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Do you have
the Bane thing, right? Like Hardy got jacked, but
right, exactly. And I
got jacked.
I think this is one of those cases where them finding a very large person and doing some extra work, like you want to do the CGI.
I would have been way into that,
but
yeah.
But find somebody who's just real tall that you can use to mocap or something with it, because it didn't look good.
And maybe that ruins his face off with Our Man at the end, because that doesn't seem.
It was so minimal. That's the thing. Why I was like, it was easily the worst. Funny enough, for all of the effect work that they put into the show, easily the most effects laden thing that they're doing is him, because he's completely effect. I mean, yeah, maybe Stripe, but Stripe is pretty if you think about Stripe is very straight lines. That's not
he's
a lot.
He's a robot.
He's
a
robot.
Metal. They're not trying to.
They're not making
doing
a
organics
skin,
or anything.
and it's not a big person moving. It's easily the worst looking thing.
It is
on the show.
Sorry. Sorry, Grundy.
I'm hopeful that having that face off with Our Man, which. I did like that Our Man, like that last little bit where he realizes I'm either going to crush the thing's skull or it's never going to die, or it's nothing's going to happen here. And he's just like, just go, just leave. I'm done. But
also I didn't love that, because it's all of a sudden he feels bad for beating up on this big stupid monster who they've never, like, the show doesn't necessarily develop him enough for us to know that about him, that he's kind of mindless or just following orders or stupid,
I think that is implied with the fact that he never speaks, he only screams, and he's being locked in a giant cage. Like, he's behind a gigantic door. I kind of feel like it's like, that's a giant animal.
But he's also just we never see any compassion from him. He's just always a killing machine. Well, I guess I would have liked a little bit more.
But you didn't even get compassion from him there. You get I didn't.
Well,
I don't
not necessarily compassion, but
he had, at no point did we ever have a moment where anybody beat Grundy to the point where Grundy submitted and basically tucked tail and ran.
Which is what I would have wanted. I wanted something to show that.
But
yeah, we just get it all at once, which is fine. They actually do that again with what's the violin Injustice member's name?
Well, she got killed.
She did, but I can't remember the name but she had a son that within 2 episodes they do an arc with that kid where they're like,
he beats the crap out of the guy with the tuba.
Yeah, but then it's very quick. That was another thing. I was like, oh, that was kind of quick. They do some quick moves, but honestly, that's it. Do you have anything else bad to say about this show? No,
and I don't, honestly.
Okay.
I love, again, the casting. Brett Basinger, man, that girl is,
She's great.
She embodies that character. And I think, here's a spoiler for next week, okay? Because I'm guessing next week our movie of the week is going to be Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh yeah, it's 100th episode spectacular.
Yeah. So this show had something extremely in common with that movie, and that there's just this at the end of it all, even throughout even the most difficult episodes, which there are a couple I do want to actually mention little bits here. The movie or the show is like, it's positive. Like it's not a negative thing in the world right now. You know, it's like, yeah, they've got this strong bad guys that they're fighting, but the way it's done as a family,
Injustice Society, even the name, like they're fighting injustice,
right? And I love that this show it's a family show based around families, and it's around a family that's coming together, and that you do get, you know, that there's a little bit of a struggle at the beginning. And of course, again, we're watching a TV show that's only 12 episodes or whatever, 10 episodes long. But the fact that it's an upbeat for the most part and positive, like an endearing, cheerful show, I loved it. Like I just,
yeah, it's real nice.
It's
right?
It's really nice. It's great. And I loved how they did all the bits in the high school with the various high schoolers. I thought worked out really well with Cindy. Great. Like, love the character there of Cindy who tells her father, I'm going to kill you if you don't let me out of here right now. Spoiler alert.
She's a brat. That one's a brat, right?
She is a serious
Can we agree
brat.
on that?
But
okay.
we also, she's not my understanding or my read on it was that she's not a kid, that she's stuck in that body, but she's old.
Oh, I guess, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, because her dad, the Dragon King, is it?
Yeah.
His story is that he discovered some anti-aging thing that turned him into a lizard of some sort. So yes,
So I think she's
may have inherited some of that. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Actually.
Yeah. I kind of assumed she was significantly older than everybody else, which is why she was quote unquote brought to watch Brainwave's son.
Dude, okay, like she's the brat and just annoying the whole time, and whatever, she's supposed to be the bad guy. She's the mean girl at school, everything. When Stargirl reaches out to make friends and then finds out who she is, and then she comes over to her house,
and they sit down and
it's supposed to be this whole episode
chocolates.
where they're yes, exactly, and they're talking about whatever, you know, because it's after when Stargirl reached out to befriend her and was like, oh yes, she's the mean girl at school, but maybe she just needs a positive influence or whatever, and then finds out, and then they come together at her house, and it's this whole episode of, she doesn't know that I know she's a bad guy, but she did the whole time.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, and I ruined that episode for anybody that's going to watch it.
It's great because it also has she finds out at the end of the little sequence, because right at the end, just before Cindy walks out the door, she goes, I'll see you later, Stargirl.
It's so good.
And it was right after it's actually that series of episodes is the last, again, I think it's the last 4, where Stargirl gets into a fight, gets beaten badly, is taken to the hospital, and Pat has to not only crash his car to make it look like an accident, because
which
he knows
is a mechanic. Yeah.
But then I loved, and I was so happy that they went, we have to tell Barbara, we can't keep this from her, and that they did, that they went through with it, that they didn't keep it out of her. They and not only that, I loved that she had the reaction she had where she was mad. She leave, get out. That it
told Pat to leave. Like, their relationship may have not been able to survive this.
And that she ultimately, based on the fact that she does love Pat and believes Pat and doesn't think Pat really wants to hurt her daughter, decides to trust him and start looking into things. And then suddenly, like, and I loved it. I loved that they let her get involved, to let her know what's going on. And then not only that, she has the discussion with Stargirl. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm supposed to let you keep fighting. I don't know if we're supposed to leave. And that
it's handled so well.
And then Stargirl is willing to leave as long as she can take the staff with her. And her mom's like, fine. Like, and they end up staying. And then when she, like, the moment Sportmaster, and I can't remember what his wife's name is, with the knives, comes in to beat the crap out of them, she finally sees Stargirl fight, and there's just this moment where Amy Smart has just the most delightful look on her face of like you could see, like, proud mom going, wow. And it's great. It's a great moment.
It's amazing. And you did use the word suddenly. I will say that they do take a leap, and it's between episodes even, because at the end of that episode, she's pretty pissed off, and we don't know if the relationship is going to survive. But I think maybe it ends with her, because her boss is Icicle. He is the leader of the Injustice Society or League, whichever. And he has one of those classic plans where, in fact, there's a great moment in the series where Dr. Midnight figures it out, and they're like, oh, they're going to take over the minds of all the adults in the world using brainwave. But they're going to do it to, quote, fix climate change and end violence and stuff like that. So when she's like reading out their goals, you're like, oh, they're going to use it to.
Well, and she actually and Stargirl actually goes, those all sound good.
Yeah, it was really great. But it's the way that they're doing. So there's a moment where at the end of the episode, she might be like, okay, I'll look into my boss here for a second. I think it's at the end of that episode. But then by the second episode, she's kind of all the way on board, except for that scene where she sees Stargirl fighting and is impressed. So there was a little bit of leap in between episodes there, but I was kind of fine with it.
There is a leap, and the leap ends with what happens is she sends an email to Courtney's dad, and Pat comes in, followed shortly after by Icicle and his parents, who she records what they're saying in Norwegian, and realizes there's something going on.
Yeah. Overall still handled really, really well, which I would say for the entire series. And okay, so I pulled this. We talked about the letter that Jeff Johns wrote. I wanted to, in fact, this maybe will bring us into our final thoughts. I can't read the whole thing because it is a bit long, but definitely go read the whole thing. And I guess it is technically addressed at the viewers. It starts out, I know because this was written in March, so you can imagine March 25th, what was going on. I know you have real life concerns to deal with, as we all do. So if you are watching these, I hope it's to take a break from it, and I'd encourage you to watch Stargirl with your family. That's how he starts. By the end, he says, I've written a lot of superhero stories in my career, but this is by far the most personal on every level. The cast, crew, and everyone involved has given their talent and passion to bringing Stargirl to life, and I couldn't be more grateful for them. I think their hard work paid off, and at the very least, I hope you smile a few times when you watch Brett Basinger playing Courtney, Luke Wilson playing Pat, take up their mantles individually and together. And then he says, I apologize for the length of this note. At this point, I can't believe you would have even time to watch this now. It's like he started writing it in March and then ended in April. I don't know. And I've skipped over maybe the most important part is that the story is based on his sister. Courtney is based on his sister. And it first came out when he pitched it to DC as Stars and Stripe, a comic that, did you finish?
No, I have not.
Okay. I have gone through it now, read the whole thing. The show is 10 times better than the comic, which
I bet.
Say what you will. I think it learns the right lessons from it. Like the comic isn't, and it's not just because this is how the guy draws. It was a conscious decision from what I can tell. It is very poppy. There's nothing real complicated about the paneling or the characters. It's drawn with very broad lines. And I think they brought that to the show. Like it looks like it was filmed in the 50s at times. They bring in the bright colors. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous show. And I think part of that has to do with the comic. And I think it was the right thing to pull from it because everything else, it's definitely better in the show. Minus, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, the appearance of the Shining Knight.
The Shining Knight.
Which I wanted. I wanted the Shining Knight to come into the show like he did in the comics. And even in the comics, I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I have no prior knowledge to the Shining Knight. I don't know if he existed before Stars and Stripe. Like, they give him a big history with the Seven Soldiers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that a real... That's okay. Which really exists.
Again, similar to Watchmen. Seven Soldiers was, if I remember correctly, I think they were Charlton Comics characters.
Oh, okay.
And
but classic,
and the Shining Knight is an Arthurian knight displaced from time.
Exactly what you would think, even.
But it's not Arthur, but he does have Excalibur.
No. Yes. And that sounds incredibly boring. But by the end of that comic, and then in the show, when they introduce that character, I'm like primed. I'm like, oh man, please let his thing be like when he comes back into it and comes in to save the day. Because it's like they left a space open for it, but they didn't quite use it. I wouldn't call it a disappointment because I still liked what they did with the finale. But I think I'm off. The reason I even started with that letter is because apart from the broad lines and the bright colors, I think what totally came across in the show, and when I read this letter was like, okay, I'm going to watch that show, is the care that they took with it.
Yep.
Like, I think all that we're responding to is the love made manifest in this thing. Like, it completely came to the screen, and it makes every moment a delight. Like, super love that show.
I told Beth I was fawning over every time I finished an episode last week. It was like, I love this show so much. I love this show so much.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy how well they manage things in this show, including the downsides, like the down parts where we have multiple deaths occur in this season.
Yeah.
And each one of them, I think, is handled with a decent amount of weight, but none more so than Brainwave Jr. Like, the brutality in that death, along with the music and the way they show it, like the way they show them all seeing it and how the show just fades out with it. Just like, I expect to see something like that out of Arrow. I expect something like that to a degree out of...
But when everything's that dire, it just means less, right?
Obviously, right, exactly. It's exactly. And in this show, like, it was such a different thing, and it was such a, like, it really was a shock. I was like, freaking dead. And here's a spoiler alert, big one.
Could we spoil this anymore? Like, still watch the show. I can't believe we've given away as much as we have. But
I watched it and I saw that and I'm like, he's dead. He's dead. They're not bringing him back. Like, not only did there was a very clear sound effect visual when he gets hit.
No gore, but you can
saw
see it.
Blood.
Matt created it for you.
No, you do see a little bit of blood, but you can hear like the ceiling collapse and crush his skull. And then at the very last episode, he shows up again, and Wildcat immediately slashes Brainwave's throat, and I was like, they are straight up murdering him. And
that's played off of Power Man, who says Our Man, who has a lot of power. Says he's going to kill Grundy, right? And Yolanda is like, nah, man, who's Wildcat, is like, no, pull it back, don't kill anybody. And then she kills the dude, and which I'm interested now in how the repercussions of that are going to take effect, because they're not just going to toss it away. That's the thing. Like, every death matters in this show.
It truly does. The only gripe that I will make.
We did the gripes already.
I'm sorry,
Matt.
But the only gripe I'll make that I hope they change for season 2, I hope they fix Wildcat's mask.
Okay, you're right. We skipped over.
I think Our Man looks great. I think Dr. Midnight looks great. I think Wildcat in general looks fine for like the suit and everything. But the mask, the mask is, it's the cheeks. The cheeks are way too big. And in the comics, it works really well. If you like Google him and look up Wildcat, it works. Yeah, it works well. But I think that the problem with it is that the cheeks work well on the comic character, and maybe even like, I didn't think it looked great on the dude in the very first episode either, but it might have looked better because he was bulkier. so that the cheeks
Sure.
aren't as like they're not as pronounced because she's small. She's not bulky, but I loved that Yolanda was a great character. That the back and forth that she has with Brainwave Jr. and that whole relationship.
Dude, her backstory, yeah, her entire arc is maybe my favorite in the show.
Incredible, and
honestly.
it's so relevant. It's such a relevant backstory too, which is like it's heartbreaking, you know. But
yeah, I'm like, look, because I watched this with my wife and daughter, the whole series. It's the thing that you're looking over at your kid, like you're paying attention to this, right? Like, like you know,
don't be an idiot in high school.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good stuff.
So if Stargirl's all right, you might want to watch it. Next week on Book Club for Movies, where we watch a movie, one movie a week, and we invite you to do the same. It's going to be Bill and Ted's
Very nice.
crazy adventure.
Face the Music.
That's it. Bill and Ted Face
title,
the Music. I couldn't remember.
Which is going to be our 100th episode spectacular. I know we didn't mention it since we made the decision, and I know it's not our 100th episode, but it's our 100th episode spectacular. It's going to happen. We're going to do it. I'm going to do a little more work than usual for this thing, and I can't wait. We've already seen the movie. I'm going to watch it again. Not that it's, in fact, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be as much of a love fest as even Stargirl was. Just to keep on your toes.
All right, that's interesting because.
But you're right.
On one side of this, it may very well be as much of a love fest as.
Okay.
I got. All right, we'll see.
There will be love. There will be plenty of love.
There will be
That I can
love.
guarantee.
Is not a P.T. Anderson movie.
There's no blood in Bill and Ted Face the Music, I don't believe. Tune in next week to find out. If you haven't yet, that's out there for, I think, just purchase at this point, right?
Yeah,
In
it's VOD. Yeah, it's VOD, I think. So I think you're right. I think it's purchase.
Maybe if you're subscribed somewhere, you already got it. But I think for the most part, I've heard that thing's like $20+. Like the VOD stuff, since they're, not putting it in theaters, is not exactly cheap.
Hey,
which
theaters are open. Go be an idiot.
that's right. Some are now, huh?
Yep.
Funny how we haven't actually talked about the future of movies on this show at all, or I guess it wouldn't be this show. It would be the show where we actually talk about movies. But it definitely shouldn't be this show too. That's already gone on too long. But what are movies going to be?
I don't think movies exist anymore, and
it's crazy.
It's going to be like the box from Batman Forever. They're just going to get beamed into our brain.
So come back next week where we figure out what movies are going to be now.
Yes, we're going to solve it.
That's podcast at bookclubformovies.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, both personally and professionally, because that side of us exists. We'll see you next week.
Fart sound!